Have you ever wondered why a simple starter home in the GTA costs nearly $1 million? Here's the secret no one tells you. Before a single brick is laid, your home already has a six-figure government fee baked into it. That's not construction costs, that's not land, that's just fees. And today, we're going to follow the money. I'm Linda, one of the Ragona Sisters, and today we're unraveling why this is happening and try to make sense of this insanity. And for those that think this hasn't affected me, think again. It affects the whole ecosystem in ways you may not realize. All this coming up in today's episode. You'll want to watch this one. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe because today I'm breaking down the hidden bill that makes your jaw drop, because it did with me. Have you ever looked at the GTA prices and thought, how can a home possibly cost that much? Because here's the shocking truth. By the time a developer sells a home in the GTA, six figures in development fees are already baked into the price. The developer passes that bill to you. Are you surprised? Here's the jaw-dropping moment. Across the GTA right now, the average detached home carries over $100,000 in development charges. Build, which is your Building Industry and Land Development Association, in conjunction with the Ontario Home Builders Association, they released the report of the state of DCs in Ontario, and it's the chart that you're looking at. It was also authored by Keller Planning and Economic Consulting. It might be the most comprehensive report on the role of development charges in Ontario's housing crisis. And as you can see in the chart, we have some heavy hitters here. So for example, Vaughan, you got almost $145,000 for development charges. And just to clarify, this chart is for single detached units. Markham is about $132,000, Brampton $130,000. Guys, this is not chump change. This is big money. That's before a shovel hits the ground. Think about this. This is before a single tradesperson walks onto the site. The project is already six figures deep in government fees. And people wonder why homes in the GTA feel so out of reach. So let's break this down. So what exactly is a development charge? They're not builder profits. They're not extras. They're city's way of charging the impact new homes bring. It brings in more people, more traffic, more flushes down the toilet. These fees cover things like expanding sewage and water systems, building or upgrading roads and intersections, adding transit routes and buses, new schools, libraries, fire stations, even local parkland. Sounds fair, right? But here's the weird thing. Over the past decade, these charges haven't just crept up, they've exploded. Across the GTA, development charges have risen by 200% in just over a decade. And to get more specific, in Toronto, fees are nearly 600% since 2011. So why the massive increase? Well, simple. The GTA has been growing so fast that pipes, roads, and schools, they can't handle the expansion. Cities argue that growth should pay for growth. Translation, they don't want current taxpayers footing the bill for all this new infrastructure. So instead, they raise fees on new construction. But here's the irony. When fees double or triple, it doesn't just pay for growth, it balloons housing costs. It prices out buyers, and ironically, it slows down the very construction we desperately need. To further dig into these development fees, these charges aren't paid out of thin air. Developers pay them up front. But developers don't absorb the costs. Like I mentioned earlier, they pass it on to you, the buyer. So when you buy that $1.5 million detached home in the GTA, an average of $100,000 of that sticker price is just development fees. So here's an example. In Toronto, developers there are cutting checks of about $97,000 per detached home. Where does it go? Well, about a third into transit and transportation upgrades, another chunk into water and sewer infrastructure, and the rest, libraries, childcare, parks, community centers. But for the average buyer, it's just one more reason a starter home feels next to impossible. Now, let's peel back what cities are really doing with your money. And let's be fair here for a second. Cities do need more money to expand, More people means more services, but here's the frustration buyers feel. Why does it have to come out of the front end of a home price? Whether we realize it or not, they inflate the very baseline of these home prices. So here's the facts. These fees don't just hurt first-time home buyers. They also choke supply. Developers look at these numbers and sometimes walk away from projects entirely. Why? Because if the math doesn't work, they won't build. Less supply means tighter inventory, which means higher prices for everyone. Recently in Richmond Hill, a detached home hit the market for, I believe it was 1.8 million. At first glance, that doesn't sound too wild for the area. That price wasn't just land, it wasn't just construction. The builder had stacked on development charges, fees, and carrying costs that pushed the number way beyond what the buyer in that pocket were willing to pay for that size house. So what happened? Buyers didn't bite, the listing sat, showings came and went, and agents brought their clients through, but the feedback was the same. It wasn't worth the size of the home. Not because it was a bad house, not because the finishes were off, but because the asking price had been padded down to cover the fees that had nothing to do with the home's true market value. Eventually, the seller had to cut that $1.8 million detached sold for about $150,000 under asking. On paper, that looks like a deal, a win for that buyer, but really, it's price inflation. Fees had pushed the baseline way too high and the market pushed back. That wasn't just one home struggling. It impacts many other homes as well. Development charges are inflating prices to the point where local markets can't sustain them. And when that happens, it doesn't just smooth out, it has to correct. Because let's face it, money doesn't grow on trees. And let's add a side note here. These development fees end up affecting resale too. Like I said earlier, it's all tied to the same ecosystem. Have you ever wondered why pre-construction prices are so brutal? Have you ever looked at a pre-construction condo and asked yourself why they have such a sky-high price for a shoebox? A big part of it's right here, development charges. On a 2-bedroom and condo in Toronto, can you guess what they go for? It's about $80,000. And that's before HST, before land, and before construction costs. Let me be real for a second, because this is the heart of the issue. When people talk about housing crisis, they think of the bidding wars, the higher mortgage rates, or investors driving up prices. Oh yeah, here's another one. People think that the realtors drive up the prices. So let me just digress and just dive into this one comment. So let's be real, guys. If supply wasn't restricted, if housing starts weren't lagging, if immigration wasn't adding record demand in the GTA, and if ultra low interest rates hadn't supercharged people's borrowing power, I'm pretty sure these comments wouldn't even exist. Because 10 years ago, we never heard them. And just to elaborate, this one always makes me laugh. I get comments like realtors must be miserable now that the market is slower. Honestly, it's quite the opposite in my opinion. A slower market weeds out the inexperienced, the ones who cut corners, the ones who give realtors a bad name by being unethical. For me, that's a welcome change because working with the professionals make my job that much easier and smoother, and I don't have to rewrite other agents' offers. So I'll end that rant right there and continue with my point. The surge in home prices aren't just bidding wars or rates or demand. Development fees play also a role in this. Although cities use this money to build infrastructure, here's the problem. When you're taxed at nearly $100,000 a door in Toronto, it starts to feel like you're double dipping. Because guess what? You still pay property tax, you still pay utility fees, and you're still sitting in traffic. It's no wonder why buyers feel completely stuck. So let's circle back. Buyers often ask me, Linda, why can't builders just eat the cost? Well, it's simple. If they did, projects wouldn't get built because they wouldn't make their profit. So where does this leave us? Developers are frustrated, buyers are frustrated, and cities are cashing checks and an affordability crisis that just keeps circling because that's where we are right now. And here's a pushback. I hear this all the time. People say municipalities are overrun with cash from these fees, but when you look around, you wonder, where is it all going? We're told it funds sewers, transit, schools, fire halls, parks, but traffic hasn't eased, schools are still packed, and transit projects always seem like they're years behind schedule. That's the frustration. Buyers are on the hook for $100,000 plus per home, and yet the visible results of that money don't match the bill. It leaves people wondering whether these charges are truly building capacity or just plugging municipal budget holes. But here's hope that conversations like this help buyers understand what's happening in our cities, and that development fees don't help the true crisis of offering affordable homes in Ontario. This can create more pressure on cities to rethink the systems. We need to address the problem, not the symptom. So just to note, here's something you may not know, or maybe you do. Doug Ford is actually trying to change the way development fees are paid. His government recently introduced the Protecting Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, which lets municipalities delay development charges payments until occupancy instead of upfront at permit time. And developers get to lock in the lowest fee available when they actually pay. It doesn't eliminate fees by any means, but it does ease the cash crunch initially to the builders or on the builders. The move gives developers a bit of breathing room, but let's not act like it's solving the problem. The price still starts at six figures before construction even begins. Fees might be delayed, but they're not gone. If you're buying or selling in the GTA, we've got your back. If you have any real estate questions, we're here to help answer them with no sales pitch. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. It helps more than you know. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.